Hello everybody, hello, no aloha here. We are playing the print-on-demand story from Fantasy Flight Games, The Curse of the Rougarou, and we're going to be playing it as a standalone session in Arkham Horror, the card game. This is part 2. In part 1, we dealt with our decks that we'd built and the setup for the game, and we're going to move into gameplay now. We're going to read some flavor text and get started on turn 1. Just to reiterate, this is a blind playthrough for me. I've not touched Curse of the Rougarou yet. All I really know about it is that it involves werewolfy type stuff. Outside of that, no idea. No idea whatsoever. Yeah, let's just dive in and read some flavor text, shall we? No. I was very close there to reading this in a 1920s newscaster voice, kind of a terror grips New Orleans, you know, that kind of voice. I will not subject you to that horror. Let's just read it in regular old no aloha voice. Terror grips New Orleans. Minnie Klein, your contact at the Arkham Advertiser, had slipped you a draft of the article over a cup of coffee at Velma's diner. It would have gone to print had Doyle Jeffries, the lead editor, not scoffed at the concept. I believe his exact words were, "I ain't printing the ravings of some voodoo lunatic and passing it off as news," she explained. From the sly grin spreading across her face, you could tell she smelled a story. The headline was sensationalist. 3 killings in 9 days was enough to spook a town, sure, but you doubt all of New Orleans is gripped by terror or even knows about the killings. Still, something piqued your interest. Lady Esprit, the voodoo priestess from the article, claimed that a malign curse had taken root in the bayou. There's something to this, isn't there? I know that look, Minnie said. You weren't sure. If Lady Esprit was right, this Rougarou wouldn't stop at killing at 3. That's for sure. But curses? Wolf people? How could such things be real? Only one way to find out. You put on your coat and head for the Northside Station. So, I guess we're looking at... This is Agnes, Agnes's little backstory. She's obviously at Velma's diner for obvious reasons. And, yeah, does Agnes work at Velma's diner? Is that her? I think it is Velma's diner. Agnes Baker may just be an assuming... I don't actually know. I'm not sure whether it is as specific as... I know Agnes is a waitress. I don't know if she is one of the waitresses at Velma's diner within Arkham. Let's hope she is. And that would fit quite nicely with this backstory. Okay. Where are we? So, we've jumped on a train. We've gone to a tour operator and booked some tickets to visit New Orleans. We've begun our vacation in the foul swamp. The stench of death and decay washes over you as you slog through this putrid swamp. It's hard to imagine what could live in these waters, sullied as they are by rot and putrefaction. Perhaps not the best place for day 1 of your little trip. So why are we in the foul swamp? Agenda 1. A creature of the bayou. After arriving in New Orleans the next day, you start your investigations by asking the locals what they know of the recent killings. As you suspected, most know very little of the incidents. You do manage to find several eyewitnesses who give similar descriptions of the creature. Its lithe, muscular form, lanky arms, and wolf-like visage. A promising start, but if there's any truth to the rumours about this curse, you'll have to talk to Lady Esprit herself. So we have a target of 5 doom. How many cards are there in this deck? 3. 2 in the Act deck. Interesting. Okay. The Act deck. Finding Lady Esprit. According to your contact, Lady Esprit is a voodoo priestess who lives deep within the bayou. Most tend to steer clear of her lonely shack. After all, the bayou can be a dangerous place, even were it not for the recent rash of savage killings. Now we have some specific objective requirements here. Only investigators at a bayou location may spend the clues as a group to advance. So we do spend the clues during the investigation phase in the player windows, but we have to be at, assuming none of these are bayou when we flip them, This is the Bayou location. Alrighty then. That does it for flavor text. We have our hand sorted out. Let's start the game off with a big old shuffle. Obviously encounter deck and the chaos bag. I think we just crack on. Who shall go first? Well, it's turn 1. Do we want to get... Oh, we should reveal the location. How about that? Let's start by revealing the location that we're at. That sounds like a solid game plan. The Foul Swamp. No clues. 2 Shroud. While you are at Foul Swamp, you cannot heal horror or cancel horror. Cancelling horror. I can't, off the top of my head, think of effects that use the cancel term when dealing with horror. Wouldn't be the same as reassigning to allies, I'm certain of that. As an action, at the Foul Swamp, we can take up to 3 horror and test willpower difficulty 7. To search the boneyard. You get +1 willpower for the test each horror that you take. So you can bump your willpower up by 3 if you take those 3 pips of horror. Essentially, take 3 horror and bring it down to difficulty 4. If you succeed, remember that the investigators have found an ancient binding stone. So that's something that you would scribble down in on your investigator sheet. Well, that sounds like something I want to do. That's really interesting. Not used to this kind of thing from Night of the Zealot. But that would be something that we would take to the resolutions, I guess, once we reach the end of the campaign. I want to do that. I don't mean I want to do that in terms of strategy or anything of that. That's just at my down in the very center of my chest, in my core. I want to do that. I have a yearning to find an ancient binding stone. As somebody who likes to collect things in video games, there is a deep desire for me to actually get that. Is that going to be useful? We don't know. We don't know what it would, what effect it would have on the resolution. We assume it would be positive, especially for such a nasty test. That looks like something that we would throw Agnes at. I wonder if we could combine this test with taking the horror and then using that to trigger Agnes's special ability, maybe. No enemies here. Yeah, maybe we do that. Maybe we see if we can get an enemy here and get double duty on the test by also applying horror. Although taking this test would incur an attack of opportunity. Maybe that's not a great idea. I am going to keep that in mind because I want to do that. For better or worse. Yeah, let's, as a first action, get some assets out. We'll get Forbidden Knowledge out. Wonderful card. Let's put, is it 4 charges, I believe? 4 secrets, yeah. As a second action, do we get Shriveling out? Don't see why not. We don't know what's going to be in these encounter decks. I think Shriveling is 4 also. Yep, 4 charges on Shriveling. Do you now stay where you are, Agnes? I will not call you Wendy. You are Agnes. And have a go at this. Or do we move? I think we move. Let's see what's on these. Because I think I would like to keep them together. And I don't want Roland just... I don't think Roland has... He's going to get physical training out. He could maybe play emergency cash. No, let's have Agnes move. Agnes will go here. The overgrown cairns. These cairn stones were placed here centuries ago, their purpose unknown. For Shroud, no clues. Well, I hope there's clues here. I think we have to assume there are going to be clues there. No clues at this location. Whoa, but you can spend an action and heal 2 horror with a once per game limit. Grab these 2 little tokens then. I'll use these to track each investigator using this once per game. Cool. It doesn't have a Bayou trait when we've flipped it over. There's obviously importance with the Bayou traits, so I'm interested with this would have Bayou also, or if it is going to be the same as on the unrevealed side. That's going to be useful. Not just useful for Wendy, perhaps Agnes. Agnes healing up horror that she's inevitably going to take, but also Skids having a low sanity and also starting with 1 mental trauma. That looks very nice. Well, that was Agnes's turns. Skids, do we move? No, let's get physical training out first, because this could be a willpower test. We don't know. Yeah, let's first action. Pay 2 resources and get physical training out. So Skids is now at least in a position where he can handle willpower tests, resources allowing. And then, sure, let's move. What do we have? We have Ritual Grounds, a nice place with lots of skulls and an alligator head. Here's our clues, thankfully. 2 clues, Shroud of 2, and just Unhallowed. It's a victory point card. Forced effect, after you end your turn, after you have finished with all your actions, at this location we draw a card and take a horror. That's cool. Okay. So that's just possibly a nice thing for Agnes, if there's an enemy there. Do I want Skids taking that horror? Drawing a card would be nice, especially because we don't have a dedicated weapon yet, though we do have the 2 backstabs. I don't want to take the horror though, but I don't want to waste a turn moving away. Maybe we take the horror and then we can slip into the overgrown cairns and heal up the horror that we take. I think that sounds good. So we are going to end our turn on this location and take the card and the horror. That sounds fine. Getting clues. You don't have flashlights in your deck. You don't have much of anything in your deck for getting clues. I think you have evidence, but that involves defeating enemies. Because I don't know, there are 2 encounter sets here. We have the Bayou encounter set, and then there is the Curse of the Rougarou encounter set. Just themey, it might be that this has only a couple of enemies in here, whereas this is chock full of enemies. That would fit a theme of if the scenario is kind of painting a picture of the first half of the game with this encounter set being more environmental threats, and then the second half being monstery threats. I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised about that at all. So there could be no enemies in here even. I have no idea. Where did I get onto that point? Yeah, I was talking about how I would get clues. The alternative is just throwing our intellect of 3 versus Shroud 2 and hoping for -1s. -1s with the current Chaos bag is about 40%, I think. A little bit less than 40% even. However, there are no negative tokens that we can pull. Nothing here is going to actually harm us or hurt us. Harm us or hurt us. 2 different things. So I think maybe Skids does just hope for -1s. There's nothing much going on here. We could draw another card. No, let's go for the clues. Let's try and move as fast as we can. Yeah, okay. We'll draw a card. Draw a token. We're not going to commit anything to this. We're just testing our intellect of 3 versus Shroud value of 2 and hoping for -1 or better. Oh, that is a success. And, if I remember Skids' Elder Sign ability, if you succeed, you gain 2 resources. Well, that is delicious. So we get a clue. And we get 2 free resources. Very, very happy with that. No enemies. But we're at the end of Skids' turn. So we now have to draw a card. Hot Streak. Going to combo very nicely with Dynamite Blast and combo very nicely with Physical Training. With Emergency Cash there also. Yeah. Not going to grumble about that. However, we do take 1 horror also. Right, now we're at the end of the investigation phase. No enemies to play with. And we go into upkeep. Let's draw a card for Agnes. She has another Ward of Protection. Having both of them, I mean, maybe we do just throw these at the first few encounters that she draws, just to give us a nice, healthy, problem-free start on Agnes's side of things, at least. Skids, you are going to draw a police badge. Cool. Yeah, we'll get you out, for sure. With these resources that we have at hand, that's very nice. And we'll get another resource. Okay, happy with that first turn. Let's see what the encounter deck has in store for us then. We're going to tick up Doom, target of 5. I gave this a shuffle at the start of the game, at the start of the video. Right then, let's... ooh, I'm excited. Ooh, got tingles. Flipping over. Cursed Swamp. A willpower test for Agnes. Lovely. For each point you fail, take damage. If you're at a Bayou location, she is not. She's up here. You cannot commit cards. So, -2 or better. I'm taking damage right now. 6 isn't especially great. However, I'm loath to commit cards that I would otherwise like to keep hold of for the time being. So I think we do just test this. It's unlikely that she'll take the full 3 damage with her healthy willpower of 5. So we'll just see what we do. 5 versus difficulty 3. 5 minus 3 is 2, so we take 1 damage. We could have played Ward of Protection there. However, I think that was a fairly Agnes-friendly encounter card. 1 damage as an effect from an encounter card. I think you have to just kind of embrace that. Give it a pat on the back and say thank you for going so leniently on me. See what Skids draws. Dragged under. Well, this is convenient. Agnes got the willpower test, and Skids gets the agility test. Test agility 3. If you fail, add dragged under to your threat area. Ah, curious. Then there are 2 forced effects. When you leave your current location, take 2 damage, and then discard it. So what's the theme there? Maybe you got your foot trapped in a rock or something. Oh, I suppose you've been dragged under, so there is an element of external forces there. So you're taking scratches on your leg as you pull away from the whatever's grabbing onto you. Or you can attempt to wriggle free at the end of the turn, taking another agility test. Cool. I like that card. It's a nice themey card for how the game mechanics work. Let's take this agility test. Do I commit anything here? Nah, I don't think so. Damage on Skids isn't so much of a problem with his healthy pool of 8 health there. So let's see if we even have to add it to our threat area. 4 versus difficulty 3. No, we don't. You lucky devil. So, not a bad first Mythos phase there. Not a bad first Mythos phase at all. I think we could here, if we were to try, we're in a position where we might be able to advance this act at the end of this investigation phase. We grab a clue, then I have Skids move, heal 2 horror, and then 3rd click move here. Is that good? Or am I rushing if I do that? What is Agnes going to do this turn? I mean, she should probably try and help out. Maybe she could come. She has intellect of just 2, so it would be 0s or better. Not great, and she doesn't have anything she can throw. Maybe Agnes draws a card to see what she gets. And if it is something that can help with intellect tests. I think we'll do that. Agnes will go first. Or does Agnes head here and try and do this? No. No. First click for Agnes. She is going to draw a card. It is Keener. Nice. Don't have the resources to pay for a Keener right now. She's a willpower slot. Do I want to use this as take a horror and draw a card? Could move in and just throw myself at a 0 or better check. No, I think I want to end up over here. I think I'm going to leave this up to up to Skids. I'm going to... I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to click for a resource. Because I want more resources, and then I'm going to move back to the Foul Swamp. That's Agnes's go. She's leaving Skids to himself. Not very supportive play there, Agnes. Skids would love to be able to grab this clue now and then heal. No, he can't do that. Why did I have that in my head I could do? Grab a clue, move 2, heal 3, move 4. So we can't do that. So let's try to grab the clue. We'll spend 2 clicks trying to grab the clue and then move out of here as a 3rd click. I think that sounds good. Let's click, and am I going to throw anything at this test? Intellect, 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 intellect. I'm not throwing either of these at an intellect test. So we're just testing -1 or better. -1. Wow. Fortune favours the roguish. So that was our first click. We have grabbed a clue. We will then move to here. And at that point, do I want to equip this now or heal up first? I guess it doesn't matter. However, having this out would be more beneficial potentially if we draw into a willpower-based encounter card during the Mythos phase. So as a 3rd action, we will spend 3 resources and equip our police badge. Okay, we're not in a position to advance the act this turn. Nothing in our threat areas. Let's go to upkeep. Let's draw some cards. Oh no, psychosis. This is the one where, yeah, we're going to be taking horror, because that's Agnes's whole bag. So we are going to click twice to get rid of this immediately at the start of the next turn. Yeah, no 2 ways about it. And we gain a resource. Skids. Another police badge. These are... it doesn't look like they have been shuffled. Getting a lot of duplicates. Willpower and a wild icon. So maybe we keep this out, or maybe we just spend this for the extra 2 actions and we can replace it with a new one. I don't know. We've got our replacement resource. That is the end of the 2nd turn. Let's jump into turn 3. Bump this up again. And see what happens with Agnes. Noting that she does have ward of protection on deck. See how bad this is. It's an enemy. A bog gator with 2 health. Preys on lowest agility, so we don't need to worry about that. While bog gator is at a bayou location, it's +2/+2, so it'd be 4/2/4. I'm actually a little bit loath to spend ward of protection on this, because this actually looks like quite a weak... It looks like a weak card. It just happens to be bad because we're at a bayou location. How much would that complicate matters? With this being in play also, I think, and us having both of them in our hand, yeah, I'm going to play Ward of Protection. This is a non... Oh, It's not treachery. It's not a treachery card. We cannot play this. It is just an enemy, so we're going to have to deal with this. Okay, we're in a position where we can deal with this. We could even just Forbidden Knowledge twice in Mythos. Where's the... I've got my skill timing book just to the side here. Just bear with me a second whilst I check where the... Yeah, so after each investigator draws an encounter card, there is a player window. I am in a position after Skids has drawn his card, I can actually trigger Forbidden Knowledge during the Mythos phase and deal 1 damage to this. And at that point, is there a way that we could take 1 extra horror? I could just click for a resource and take the opportunity attack, and that would be enough to kill it after we take the damage. Yeah, I think we do that. Yeah, you're easy enough to kill without actually spending shrivelings. No big deal. Right. There's a lot of... not nuance. Maybe it is nuance. I feel like Agnes is definitely an investigator that you learn the little tricks. And I don't quite have them all sat nicely, comfortably and solidly in my mind right now. Another enemy, Swamp Leech. Spawn any... oh gosh. Spawn on any bayou location. So this is going to engage with Agnes as well. Maybe she takes care of this one. Swamp Leech cannot be evaded. Forced. When Swamp Leech enters a non-bayou location, discard it. Oh. Not terrible. It's certainly giving me panic attacks, because this is not a nice thing to consider theme-wise. Doesn't do a lot of damage. But still, it's going to spawn at the bayou, and then it's going to enter into Agnes's threat area. It's a bit annoying. They're both 4 difficulty. So, before we end the Mythos phase, should I take this? Yeah, I think I do. This makes most sense, I believe. So, as a free action in the player window, at the end of the Mythos phase of this turn, I'm going to exhaust Forbidden Knowledge and take 1 horror. And I'm going to move this secret to my pool as a resource, take 1 horror, and as a result, trigger Agnes's special ability, and deal 1 damage to... let's just get rid of the Swamp Leech. So that kills the Swamp Leech. Get rid of this. Sure, we're in the investigation phase now. Just making sure I wasn't missing anything. So do we just shriveling this? Maybe we do. I would like to spend 2 actions getting rid of this. This would be difficulty 5, combat 5. It would do the +2 damage that we need. Having a Kino out might have been nice there, however. Or we could just try to evade it, but it doesn't change the difficulty. The reason I'm worried about this is just being at... I don't want to fail this test if I'm committing things. -1 or better just doesn't feel nice in the slightest. Maybe we do. What would Skids do? Skids is going to spend an action healing his horror, then move, and then fight. So he has an option. Who would I rather deal with this? I don't think it matters too much. They're both going to be... I think they're both going to end up being around -1 or better. Because Skids is going to... were Skids to do it, he would use a backstab. Potentially waste a ping of damage, because we don't need to do 3 damage, we just need to do the 2 damage. And then if we do fail, worst comes to worst, we can ping it again when it attacks in the enemy phase. And then she can ping it at the start of the turn with her Forbidden Knowledge. We're not going to have to deal with this, but let's see if we can deal with it immediately so that she doesn't have to take opportunity attacks. Agnes will go first, and she will... Yeah, she'll pop a scrying on this. Not scrying, a shriveling. She'll play shriveling. She is going to fight using willpower. She will commit fearless to this. She gets willpower 6 versus difficulty 4. And is there anything else I want to throw? No, I think we just take the -2 or better. I don't feel good about -2 or better. I don't mind saying. Wish me luck. -2 or better. Oh, it's a 0. I'm getting very lucky with this Chaos Bag. I don't mind saying. So that does +1 damage. We're successful. And we defeat it. Very nicely done, Agnes. Click, click, and we'll get rid of Psychosis. Let's put you in the discard pile first. Oh, and if this skill test is successful, heal 1 horror. Very good. Okay. Skids, my friend, you will, as a first action, make use of this and heal 2 horror. And we will delete your token so that we can track that. Then, as a second action, we will move to this location. And as a third action, is this where we just tank out a whole heap of resources? I think so. Yeah. Yeah, we do. As third action, we're going to play Hot Streak and pay 3, but get 10. So we're going to add 7 resources. So we're going to have 11 in total. Oops. Okay. Pretty sure I did the numbers right there. We had 4. We're going to pay 3 to go down to 1, and then we're going to add 10 to go up to 11. Yes. And we are at the end of the investigation phase. We can, right now, spend these 2 clues, because we are at the Bayou location. That was the requirement, correct? Only investigators at a Bayou location may spend the requisite, yeah. So in Night of the Zealot, in the Gathering, it was worthwhile waiting until the beginning of the next investigation phase. But that's only because it allowed you to discard enemies that spawned, because you were kind of teleported to a different map entirely, which I'm not expecting that to happen in this scenario. In other situations, you would... There is only 2 act cards, which would suggest that once we resolve this, the act card underneath is going to be our final objective. I think we advance it now, then. Is there any reason I wouldn't? Could spawn a monster. Could definitely spawn a monster. Is there any difference between advancing it right now or advancing it at the start of the investigation phase? No. Let's say there's not. I will advance the act at the start of the next turn, after the Mythos phase. Yeah. Yeah, okay. We'll move into enemy phase. There are no enemies. Let's go into upkeep, draw some cards. There's scrying. Wonderful. I think we'll get scrying out and then start seeing if we can wrestle control of the encounter deck. Really strong Agnes. She has a scrying out, and we can get a Keener out, maybe. Get scrying and these water protections. Yeah, I'm really happy with the situation Agnes is in right now. Skidsy. Wonderful. Super happy to have the versatility of Unexpected Courage. I would like to be drawn into a pistol or a machete. With all these resources, a second Dynamite Blast would be phenomenal. But sure. I think we'll drop a break into proceedings there and come back for what will be a third Mythos phase and an advancement of the act. That went pretty well, I think. You'll agree? I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you'll join me again in the next video. I will see you over there. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.